In my last video, I talked about 18 theme park parks in the US have surprisingly good transit for North American standards. I also know there's a few that are close to rail that under failed circumstances should get rail stations or other general improvements. I did roast over Texas and Fun Spot Land in the previous video, but here are 12 more parks that are so close, but yet so far. Divide this up into some categories in sort of like what I think is best. Starting off, category 1 is buses and dreams, which mostly means the answer is going to be bus related. So we have Oaks Amusement Park in Portland, Oregon, who's served by Trimet with their trolley lines nearby. There will probably be a tram branch line, or just it could be a bus service. So there's a freight line that passes by this park, and we can get 2 new stops, one for the trail and one for the park itself. There's some runs every 40 minutes, and it's a 20-minute walk through that trail, which is pretty cool once you get through it, but although it's mostly suburbia from the closest bus stop. Getting the tram right there would be cool. Best thing to know is bus service expand on the road right there. It is a very small family park, and it stands a clan of hydros on the Jersey Shore. Although I'm not a beach person, I think that is the superiors. There's a track near Southern Loop, the north-south line, and could extend the Expo line to Southwood Bridge and the Riverview Cemetery. Reminding me a bit of part of that extension to Saragossa a bit that way. However, this extension is operated by a Heritage Line. Probably easier than Class 1s, but I doubt it would be worth the little benefit it would have. It actually goes quite far. Next one in this category is Carowinds in Charlotte, North Carolina, and also Fort Mill, South Carolina, is the only park that stands on the U.S. border. So the service is called CATS, and objective is a bus that makes sense. Now Charlotte is a growing Metra, and Cedar Fair knows this. Carowinds is served by the 482 and 82X. Although it's not useful whatsoever for park guests, employees, and even the other businesses there. It's like due like 4 and 6 a.m. Fixes for more employees and enthusiasts who arrive in the middle on the Amtrak. And once that air rail link is finally finished, maybe the buses would move to resolve this. Cedar Fair really cares about this park, and maybe they should care about its transit too. For another smaller park, Lake Winnepesaukah, or Lake Winnie, located in Roswell, Georgia, just south of the border of Chattanooga, whose service is called CARTA. So push CARTA into Georgia a bit more. The park's about 5 miles from downtown Chattanooga. As the crow flies, you have the airport, a zoo to the border. CARTA could seriously just extend a route into Georgia. Who knows, this might be in more Georgia traffic. With Amtrak linking Nashville and Atlanta via Chattanooga in the future, and Atlantean could make a weekend out of this. Now we're hitting up my home Six Flags Park at the beginning of this whole Six Flags roast, you could say, in this video. Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. NJT buses should connect from Trenton to this park. I think 308 connects from New York, and I think there might have been other times in the past where they've done shuttles down to the park. Come on, it's a straight shot down 195 from Trenton Transit Center, and maybe they could thread in another express service for Freehold and iPlay America, because that area I describe as a transit desert. I like to see a dedicated pedestrian path through the water park from the drop-off bus loop area and make it more bus than parent drop-off between tweens, and all the suckers will probably still do it. With the new shopping center there and the premium outlets on the other side of the interchange, why does NJT not? Speaking of pedestrian paths, here's an honorable mention. Lagoon, Utah already has a bus and is right across the street from a train station on the UTA network. Doesn't run on Sunday, that's kind of how things are in Utah, but I think a tunnel under the highway into the area would equal the limits with the bus. So you could split the path from underground, keep it EVA, smoke-free, integrate the security and stuff. If the park petitioned the Department of Transportation, I think they could build that path under there. Just me. Anyways, this next video is going to focus on the New England parks I roasted in the last video, starting with Six Flags New England, Agawam, Massachusetts, with the nearby Springfield Station serving CT Rail Amtrak, and their own PVTA network. They're originally a shuttle from Springfield, just like Park A. Warner does from Pinto. Now, this is a basic one. Park could do this, the PVTA. Bus every half hour from Springfield, starting 3 days before Park open until an hour to Park close. From there, you could walk or charge to a bus to get closer to a hotel in the town. That sounds cool. Unlike the another park that opened in 1870 on this list, the rail links aren't the problem. You have the CT Rail and Amtrak Hartford service with an extra 1 or 2 corridor trains taking the Hartford line instead of Boston. Vermonter Daily, Valley Flyer 2 trips a day. Lakeshore at 10 from the split and check-in time for Boston Daily. This is a small group that I think could save the headache of parking in the deep over in Connecticut. Speaking of Connecticut, let's visit America's oldest park, Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. Again, CT Transit, Metro North, and Amtrak, and 2 of those, the CT Transit and Amtrak, are on the same track that go to Springfield. So the goal will be expand bus service. Losing its trolleys during the Depression, and it's a 2-mile walk from the closest bus stop, a park and ride, and even if buses directly from the MTA Waterbury and CT Amtrak Meridan only stop at the park and ride with the Lake Compounce branch shuttle takes its final bit. Maintaining patience for its Jolly Trolley rolling stock is a play in its trolley park history, or maybe something like this, where the 2 dedicated lines that meet at the park. And then the idea going back to Rose and Six Flags parks is a few that are close to Amtrak lines, or where Amtrak has service, but it might not be a solution, but it's there, so it'll probably help. So now for the Great America in Gurnee, Illinois, Chicago metro area, home of Metra with the Pace bus system. There are already plans for adding a new station to Gurnee, but also maybe an express service bus. So that line right there, the one that currently has a station on it, that is owned by Union Pacific, and that runs hourly all day, which is actually pretty good, since here Metrolink just sucks. 565 runs every half hour with 1 stop by employee and another just outside the main public entrance. And from there, that's 11-minute walk to front gate from a 4-lane road. They're going to do better by greenlining the Milwaukee North District Line branch on the Amtrak Hiawatha line. The employees of Harrisburg seem to either drive or take the bus like guests, so the 565 or a new express service serving the malls and Great Wolf Lodge, which Pace doesn't directly serve. In my opinion, they should strive for 15-minute starts with 2 trains an hour, going to one branch or the other, with one terminating at the last stop before it's split like it is now. You can tell Public Works or a spa to move, make use of the mall just so it can vibe a little longer. With eminent domain, they could fight for a cheap rent in the mall for a space, and we could make something just okay to S tier with A Transit. Six Flags St. Louis, the last of the original Six Flags parks, makes sense to knock them all out in this list, originally opened as Six Flags over Mid-America. Amtrak, that's Union Pacific right away. In my opinion, I think this regional service would probably be operated by St. Louis's Metro network, and clearly that Amtrak service is the River Runner. River Runner has 1 daily round trip with time transfer to the Lincoln plus another set. However, I would give the stop a possible Metro regional rail service. However, the part is that track is in a ditch, and the entire route is Union Pacific track, class 1s. So what if St. Louis gets a regional line at Six Flags? Well, Metros like Montreal sometimes has trains pop up a little bit to help them naturally slow down, speed up. Probably isn't good for freight. There's a 3rd single track line on the other side, just to the left of that main track at Grand, and it doesn't be at Grand on the Metro and Allenton across the street from the park. Looks like prime DOD project. Oh, there's a random church there. I'm sure you can also link the 2 tracks again at the other end of that segment, I feel like it could make some more sense. But I feel like that 4,000 feet from where that station should be to the dedication found inside the park, so maybe a shuttle that feels maybe a little too long to walk from the train to front gate, especially with the parking lot there. But a shuttle bus kind of feels like a waste of fuel. Switching gears to the capital region, we have Kings Dominion and the Virginia State Fair in Doswell, Virginia. Amtrak mainly serves that part of the corridor service, and likely is a CVTA to run their own regional service for the Richmond area, and more bus shuttle service in that region. It's a bit further from the railroad from St. Louis, but I can see for Kings Dominion that it's totally not in a ditch. But it's in a ditch, they can just build a station on top of that. The VRA currently terminates in Spotsylvania. There's currently a Northeast Corridor stop in Ashland for the Hampton Roads bound services 8 miles south by car. I was talking earlier with the Richmond Central Virginia Express, or the CVA for short. would probably build the station here because of the Virginia State Fair being right there too. It'll probably be called Doswell with the attractions as like a subtotal like the DC Metro stations. At least run a seasonal shuttle for the fair, and we expand it for the Kings of Maine employees because like the STS in Ohio it should be free for them. And probably another one for the side for the town, Heading back up A5 end of the corridor is Six Flags America in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Again, saying Metro DC, and obviously the bus network. I don't think at Metro necessarily. I didn't look into that. Yeah, there's currently a bus that does in there, but both and nasty diversions into residential areas. So we're going to look at the line that ends in Largo, and with the rumor that the blue line could be turned into a loop line, we're mainly focusing on the silver line, which also terminates over there. See, again, I was talking about that, how that route is kind of like about as dumb as the American Dream Mall link. It's a 9-minute walk from the bus stop to front gate, but at least the trip back to you is not involved crossing the street when leaving. The station might shave off a minute or two, but it would cut the middleman or bus, especially the H-bending streetcar links, to another metro station to actually be useful for once. Stadium Armory, I came in on an infill, but a bus from Union Stadium in Largo to the park round trip will have to do for now. Or you can have a New Carrollton, but still, that's a bus. And transfer at Largo. Another local park to me is Hersheypark in Hershey, Pennsylvania. We're talking about capillary transit for Harrisburg, or CAT for short, Lebanon transit, and maybe an Amtrak. There's a parking garage across from Hersheypark that all the Hershey enthusiasts go to and get photos taken at. That's called the Hershey Intermodal. There's rail, there's a garage, buses stop there. It just needs the platforms. This could go through Harrisburg's plans for a CTA transit system with a line out to Lebanon on a new Amtrak line that goes through Reading and Allentown to Scranton. The station is active. Hersheypark could run a shuttle for the Hershey Gardens, Hershey String Museum on the loop to stop there with direct shuttles at peak times to any other attractions. CAT and Lebanon passes should be accepted as fare for this. And honestly, hopefully it should be free for people who end up with tickets. I'm not really sure, but it is also quite walkable to the Zoo America entrance, so during the off-season, that is a good idea. The CAT ever does have the 322 and inactive shuttle line, but the last bus at Harrisburg station is 6:35 on the 322. So you probably need to aim to finish in the park around 6 to get there so you don't miss it. It does get you for the second to last Philly down Keystone of the night, which is at least 20-30 minutes to spare. A bus around 8 to get similar time to spare for the 9:15, I think that's fair. The shuttle on the 29's listing is still on the site, and the 8:10 would give me that time to meet the last train of the night on the Amtrak Keystone or Latat Nowak. As for Lebanon transit, 2 infrequent buses, the 8 for the AM and early afternoon, and the 16 for the late afternoon every other hour. Cities Lebanon should make a dedicated hourly bus just for the Hershey region, and maybe Hersheypark and maybe Harrisburg should push a little extra cash. So hey, if they cancel the shuttle and just put more emphasis on 322 and make that more frequent, hey. Unless is my former release of employment, and the short that I'm running today for is Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, with service being the Amtrak, the Local Transit Authority, the which is called the STS, and Jet Express, among a few other ferry services, the other islands, but Jet Express services the park, so yeah. The objective here is daytime rail service, because they have a decent bus system, check, they could just improve frequency. Ferries to the park, because no bus except the employee shuttle on the causeway, check, makes sense. It's fairly walkable from the bus hub at Washington Wayne. Train station, check, it's been there since the late 19th century. Service at which makes sense? Heck no! Capital Limit, the only long-distance Amtrak train that I have taken, is scheduled to arrive from Chicago at 12:40 a.m. and then arrive almost 2. Our services are roughly back-to-back in the 4 o'clock hour, including Carolina westward and both directions of the Lakeshore Limited. This makes it more local instead of tourist, but daytime service at least Cleveland and Toledo will be cool and in the cards. Maybe a daytime version of the Capital Limited. That'd be nice too. Right, because right now the Purple Line doesn't really work with either of the times there. It all shuts down at like 8 and starts again at like 6 or 7. The train is like an hour, 90 minutes later coming in the morning than me. They would push the bus and do it earlier just to be nice. I don't know. Yeah, being more local another stop or two on the Norfolk Southern right away. I don't know. The service could have to be subsidized at a station I don't see happening. Even Chicago to Pitt is still 300 miles short of that threshold for the state to get off the hook. Although probably sharing the room between Illinois and Pennsylvania would probably help. It does mean much for long distance those who travel over in the States, but if it's a plus for business, come on, that's probably the most important thing here. So, there's a close but yet so far type list. So next time, I'll be listing some of the interesting ones for our friends on both sides of the border, talking about some of the major parks that people are talking about when it comes to Canada and Mexico, and how they fare with transit. So until then, comment, subscribe, strike the bell, and I'll see you then.